Trying and yearning every day that I'm learning that Hebrew connection with Hashem burning, growing every day with the great I am. My heart's wide open, here I stand.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome. We are continuing through our ancient Triennial Torah portion studies. Today, it's Parashat Vayat Yaakov. Then Jacob noticed, or then he saw. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and our King, Bi Abba, Ta'azerna Otanu Hayom, Lilmod Tov Be'einecha, Tishlachna et Ruach HaKodesh Aleinu, כי אנחנו רוצים לשמוע את קולך. וגם אבא, תעזרנה אותנו ללכת על הדרך הישר. כי אנחנו יודעים כי בלתך אפס אנחנו. לכל הדברים האלה אנחנו נברכך בזכות ישוע המשיח. All right, let's get started. So Vayah Yaakov can be found in Genesis 42 verse 1 through 42 verse 17. Yeah, it's not so long. It's only 17 verses today, and the verses are not that long. And the Haftarah is Isaiah 55, verses 1 through 13. Well, some ancient communities did some skipping, and some only went to verse 9. So we'll see how we're led by the Ruach when we get there. Let's get started. Okay, here we are. Genesis chapter 42, 42, verse 1. Vaya Yaakov כי ישב במצרים, ויאמר יעקב לבניו, למה תתראו? All right. Chapter 42, verse 1. Let's break it apart. Vayol. This is the verb ra'ah, reish aleph hey. It's kind of hard to notice because the hey is gone. Don't confuse it with the verb yod reish aleph, to fear. That's not what this is. It's not saying Yaakov feared. It's saying en he ra'ad, he saw. Then Jacob saw, he noticed. Malbim comments, Jacob's seeing was not physical sight, but intellectual understanding. So what did he see? Ki, that yesh shever, that there existed shever, grain. Some say corn, but grain is more, I think, fits better. Be Mitzrayim, in Egypt. Vayomer, and he said, who said? Yaakov. Levanaiv, to the banim of Iv, to his sons. Lama, for what? Why? Titra'u. Again, it's the verbal root, reish aleph hey, and that hey has gone away. It's a hitpayel. So ra'ah is to see, and usually hitpayel means to do to oneself. So like, why are you seeing each other? Why are you staring at one another, right? Like you're just not doing anything. Now, I've been reading these latest Torah portions also in the Greek, the ancient translation to the Jewish Greek from about 2,400 years ago or so, the Septuagint. Just in case we catch something interesting in that Targum. And I just wanted to share that. Here's the comment I made from this one. Titra'u, hitpile from ra'ah, to see, something like looking at one another. The Septuagint translates this as harathumeo, in the active sense, to be unconcerned, idle, or nonchalant. In older Greek, it has the meaning of take a holiday, like cease working. This is the only occurrence of this Greek word in the entire Greek Bible. The hit pile of Ra'ah is also fairly rare. Yeah, I don't remember exactly how many times, but it's probably around 5 times. Certainly less than 10. So I was looking for a Gezerah Shava. That's why I was checking to see how many times the Greek shows up, but we don't have this word used in the apostolic writings, the so-called New Testament. All right, let's continue. Verse 2. Vayomer hine shama'ati ki yeshever b'Mitzrayim redu shama v'shivru lanu misham v'nichye v'lo namut. Vayomer. So he said, Hine, behold, or check it out. Shamati, I have shamad, I've heard. Ki, that. Yesh, there exists, or there is, shevel, grain. Be Mitzrayim, in Egypt. Redu. So this is from the verb yarad. Yod, resh, dalet. And the yod is gone. This happens with verbs that start with yod. That initial yod will disappear very often. In rabbinical parlance, they're referred to as pay yod verbs, meaning the first position has a yod. So this is an imperative, a command form in the plural. So red u, you all yarad, like go down, descend. Shama, sham means there. The ah is word, like their word. In slightly older English, you could say thither, right? It means to there, like go down to there, go over there. Veshiveru, and you guys by shever. See how we have a verb? Shever is the noun, and here we have the verb shiveru, and by it's a command form from shavar, and by grain lanu for us. It really means like trade in grain for us. Misham from there. Surely in English, I didn't check, but I'm sure the English flattens this word to just say buy, right? Buy grain for us. And the usual word for buy would be kana, right? Like acquire or buy. Sometimes lakach, to buy, as when, well, maybe I won't give that example. I don't want to jar you back to a different parsha. So just a nice little play on words we have in the Hebrew that's lost in other languages. So shivru, buy grain, la nu, for new, for us. Misham is a contraction of min, from, and sham, mish sham, from there. Venichye, ve, so, ni, we will, chaya, we will live, we will live. Venichye, that we might live. Velo, and not namut, we will die. Just to make sure they understand what it means to live, it means to not not die. I'm not sure why Yaakov Avinu is speaking that way. There's probably something here that I'm missing. Maybe Nick will see it. I'll make the connection. Oftentimes Nick makes some of those deeper connections that I miss. I'm more of a pashat kind of guy. Plain meaning only. The deeper stuff I miss sometimes. Often. All right, verse 3. וירדו אחי יוסף 10 לשבור בה ממצרים וירדו. Then they yaraded, they went down. Who went down? Achei Yosef, the brothers, the Achim of Yosef. Remember, Achim is brothers. Achei, you drop that mem to make it brothers of, the brothers of Yosef. Asara, 10. So then went down 10 brothers of Yosef. Lishbol, Ba, to acquire grain. When we had our little family study today, I noticed that. So the usual word we're using up here, not usual, but the word that the parasha is using for grain is shever. And then you also have bar, which means grain. And I realize, I could be wrong, but that probably just through colloquial speech, people got lazy and dropped the she. So shever became bar, right? You can hear it's got the same consonants. It's just missing the sheen. So lishbol ba, maybe that was less cumbersome to say than lishbol sheva, right? You can totally see this. I mean, it's just an educated guess, but I bet 88% likelihood I'm forecasting. So lishbol ba, to buy. Don't 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 try to translate it as son. You might be tempted to buy a son. It's interesting. They did end up acquiring a son back, right? Maybe there's a little hint in the text. But that Hebrew word for son, bar, like bar mitzvah, like some people try to translate in the Psalms, like, kiss the son, right? So he won't be angry, etc. But the problem is, this is an Aramaic loanword into Hebrew. So if the psalm is not from the right period of time, we use a study called diachrony. If it's not from the right study of time, then he, like, i.e., before we were expelled to Babylon, then it doesn't make sense to have that Aramaic word being borrowed by Hebrew. Like today, you say bar mitzvah, right? No problem, because we exist in this time, and we've already absorbed that Aramaic word ba to mean the same thing as ben, right? Or bane. So you should be careful in the Psalms. I think sometimes overly enthusiastic Christians want to put the Messiah in everything, right? But he's in many places, but he's not everywhere. So in that case, it's probably the word bar meaning purity in that psalm, like yearn for purity or even kiss purity, something like this. Right? And even if it was the son, it would need to be haba, right? Instead of just ba. So unlikely. It's wishful thinking, but unlikely that that's what that means over there. So here, it could be hinting about his son, but I don't think so because that word wasn't in play yet. So lishbo ba, acquire grain, min mitzrayim, min mitzrayim. The noon when inside the mem, that's why there's a dot there. The noon is hiding in there. Min mitzrayim, make it min mitzrayim from Egypt. Verse 4. ואת בנימין אחי יוסף לא שלח יעקב את אחיו כי אמר פן יקראנו אסון. Now we have some special emphasis because the verb doesn't come down to here. Lo shalach Yaakov. Shalach. So usually you have the object after the verb. So in Hebrew syntax, when it's just prose, when it's just like telling a story, so it's not poetry and it's not answering a question. If you have the object before the verb, there's special emphasis noted by that. Okay. So ve'et Binyamin, but Benjamin, Achi Yosef, the brother of Joseph or Joseph's brother, lo shalach Yaakov. Jacob did not send. Et Echaiv, his brothers. So et is okay, it's with here. I know it looks just like the definite direct object marker, but here it needs to be with. So lo shalach Yaakov, Jacob didn't send, et with Echaiv, his brothers. Kind of important note in the text there. He doesn't trust them, I think, with Rachel's only remaining son. Ki amah, for he said, pen yikaenu, lest there occur to him ason, ason, aleph samech vav nun, a fatal accident. This kara, note I translated happy. Well, some of you wonder, like, why does kara sometimes mean happy, right? Usually, for those of you who've learned the high frequency words, you know that kara, kufresh aleph means to call, name, that kind of stuff, right? Well, what's happening is probably what's happening is it's from kara with a hey at the end, kufresh hey. There is occasionally some interchange between aleph and hey when it's at the end of a word because aleph was really just like a vocal stop, like and so when you have it at the end of the word, it kind of loses that. So it's natural that someone who's listening and you don't have standardized spelling yet, you might write kara with a hey to happen to occur the same way as kara with an aleph. It happens frequently enough that oftentimes it's just listed as a homograph. When really, I think personally, it's a spelling issue. It's just a spelling issue that there wasn't standardized spelling. Okay, so pen yika no, less it happened to him. And the subject is actually ason. Lest an ason yik, that's the he, and the son because it's masculine, and the son will happen new to him. Okay. All right. From the Midrash Breshit Rabbah 91:3, he said, lest disaster befall him. From here we learn that the accuser prosecutes only at a time of danger. Time of danger. This is also in the Talmud too. Shabbat. Where is it? It's in two places. Yeah. but that's fine. Midrash Beshit Rabbah is pretty powerful. We can take it from there. All right. Let's read from the Leningrad Codex now. Actually, I'm going to take a quick drink. Why don't you reflect if you have any questions? Those of you who are in the chat for the premiere, go ahead and ask your questions and I will get to it. All right. We are Leningrad Codex, Genesis chapter 42. Vaya Yaakov. Then Jacob noticed, literally, he saw, ki that yesh shever, there was grain, bemitzrayim in Egypt. Vayomer. So he said, sorry, Yaakov, so Jacob said, Levaniv to his sons, Lama tidrau, why are you looking at each other? Why are you sitting there staring at each other? Or, if we go with the Greek, why are you chathumeo? Why are you so idle? Verse 2. Vayomer. And he said, Hine, behold, Shamati ki yesh shever b'Mitzrayim. I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Redu shama. Go down to there. Veshivru lanu, and buy for us, or acquire grain for us, misham, from there. Venichye, that we might live, velo, and not namut, we will die. Verse 3. Vayeredu, pardon me, I'm not doing the tones. Vayeredu achi Yosef, Asara. So Joseph's brothers, they went down Asara, 10. Lishbol, to acquire grain, Baal, redundant, sorry. Lishbol Baal, to acquire grain, Mi Mitzrayim, from Egypt. Verse 4. Ve'et Binyamin, achi Yosef, lo shalach Yaakov et Echad. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob did not send with his brothers. Ki amal, for he said, Pen yikaenu ason, lest an ason happen to him, lest a horrible life and death disaster befall him. And it's interesting, you might have noticed that the text refers to Binyamin as Achi Yosef, the brother of Joseph, right? I mean, in the modern sense, with a family like this, we would have, the proper way to translate would be Ach le Yosef, a brother of Joseph, right? You can't use the construct like what's happening here and say it any other way than the brother of Joseph. So why does he get the special title, the brother of Yosef? What's going on here? Why? 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 Well, they shared a mother, right? In a polygamous family like that, we have there are four wives. The brothers who were born from the same mother, there's like an inference that they are closer, that they are like more related, even, right? Like the relation is closer. I guess the idea is you came out of the same womb, right? Maybe this is the idea. And if you recall, when Abraham was in Egypt and he refers to Sarah as Achoti, that's what he said about Sarah. So she's my sister. So most of the sages agree that she really was his sister, the way he explains, right? Because he explains quite literally. He says, we have different mothers, right? We have the same father but different mothers, right? So it's pretty clear that he's saying they actually are half siblings, right? Which this was uncomfortable for some of the classical commentators, since that's forbidden in Torah, right? You can't do that anymore. You can't marry your half sister. Not allowed, right? And even in Jewish in Yiddishkeit, you don't marry your first cousin, even, right? Even that kind of stuff stopped. So the reasoning is because in the ancient world, it was acceptable to marry a sister who had a different mother as if the father's the same. That was seen as acceptable. But for some reason, if you're born from the same mother, the closeness just made it like, ew. Like you couldn't stand it there. Now, some commentators, they go the other way and they kind of they just don't want to accept it. And there is some linguistic support for them. What they will argue is that ach and achot, brother and sister, these terms, they have kind of a fairly broad semantic domain, right? So ach, I'll just talk about ach, right? And just assume the same thing for sister, but for females. So ach, like even in Israel today, right? So ach can be like countryman, right? Countryman, someone who's from your nation, right? So even in Israel today, you can meet a stranger, and the youth they'll say, "Hey, achi, hey, my brother," right? And we call each other this too, right? In the congregation, achi, my brother, right? That's a possible meaning of the word, right? Moshe even makes the argument to the Edomites, he refers to them as brothers, right? Achim. And actually, Muslims will even chew on this because one of the problems with their prophet being a prophet from a Jewish perspective, I mean, there are many problems, right? I mean, breaking all the Ten Commandments is probably the biggest problem, but before that, I mean, documented in their text, right, that he broke all the commandments, but they don't couch it that way, but he did. So, but when you approach it from a Jewish perspective, all the prophets were Jews, right? All the prophets were Israelis, we could say, right? Not all from Judah, right? But all from one of the tribes. And so, even in the New Testament, right? The prophets that are listed in the New Testament, they're all, from Israel. And so, how could someone who's from Arabia, who's not a Jew, who's not a son of Israel, be a prophet? And they will make the argument, oh no, well, the semantic range of ach, when it says God will raise up one of your brothers, he will raise up one of your brothers, it can be those from Ishmael or Esau, right? And they would have a good argument if the text stopped there in Deuteronomy. If it stopped with that in Devarim, if it stopped with saying God will raise up one of your brothers, then you could make the argument that that's true. They are relatives in a way, the Arabs rather. I mean, assuming we believe that they are descended from. I mean, nobody really knows. We don't really know for sure if modern Arabs, have enough blood from Ishmael to really be considered, right? Because there are lots of people who mix there. I mean, if you're 1% of the blood from Ishmael, does that count? I don't know. Seems like kind of a weird thing to call yourself that, right? But whatever. So, but let's just assume, let's just give it to them that they are descendants from Ishmael, at least in a large enough capacity to say, yeah, he's our father. The problem is the text doesn't stop with your brother from your brothers. It says, it goes on to say, Betolchechem, who is in your midst, clarifying that he must be an Israeli, right? For your brothers who's in your midst. Now, it could be a convert to Judaism, that would be fine, right? That's still your brother who's in your midst. It's, but to go to another people with another religion and all that kind of thing, no, no. Muhammad is instantly disqualified. He's not a Jew. That's it. There's no way he's going to be a prophet back then. He hasn't, and he hasn't been grafted into Israel either. So his father was a pagan. So, and he even says that himself. He says, "My father's in hell." He's talking to some other guy. He says, "My father's in hell with your father." Right? So, I mean, so all right, that's that. Anyway, so so then they can also appeal to when Avram says, "Avi, my father." Well, what does my father mean in Hebrew? Well, Av, father, also has a broad semantic domain. So it can mean your literal father, or it can mean your ancestor, right? So he could have been talking about through some particular family line that they share patrilineal descent, Sarah or Sarai and Avram, but they don't share matrilineal descent, right? So that's kind of where and actually you can make the argument linguistically. It's a sound argument. So if it's always kind of bothered you and you didn't really accept that Sarah was actually the half sister of Avram, I believe she was, but whatever. It's my opinion. It's there's very defensible grounds that she was not. She could have been a cousin or something like this, right? So anyway, let's get back to the text here. We're done with this page. Great. All right. Genesis chapter 42, verse 5. Vayavo bnei Yisrael lishbol betoch habayim ki haya ha'av be'eretz Canaan. Vayavo. Then they came, or when they came, or when they entered. Who did this? Bnei Israel, the sons of Israel. Lishbul, to buy grain. I love that one verb. It builds all of that in there, doesn't it? Betoch. Oh, there's a word that I was talking about. Betoch Amecha, in the midst of your people, right? Also your people. That other thing I was talking about before clarifies it. Betoch, in the midst of Habaim, those who were coming. Right? So it's like they're kind of mingling. They're with the crowds going into Egypt. Ki haya, for was the ra'av, the famine. Pardon me. I think when I built the text here, I might have accidentally covered part of the schwa. That should be a schwa, not a chirik. Be'eretz Canaan. Yeah, you can see in Canaan also it says Kinan. That's wrong. I fixed it. I fixed it. Be'eretz Canaan. In the land of Canaan. Verse 6. Ve'yosef hu hashalit al haaretz hu hamashbir lechol am haaretz vayavo achei Yosef v'eshtachavu lo apayim aretza. Okay. Yosef. Now Joseph, who means he, but oftentimes in English where you kind of feel like it deserves and is, there'll just be a pronoun there in Hebrew. So you don't have to say Yosef he if you don't want. So Yosef was ha shalit. He was the authority. He was the authority, the moshel, the authority. We have an English cognate from this, sultan, right? Coming from Hebrew into Arabic into English, the sultan, the sultan, right? He was the authority, hashalit, all over haaretz, the land. Who he was hamashbil. Now we've already encountered shevel for grain and shavar to acquire grain. By the way, not to be confused with the more common word like lishbor, the more common word which would mean to break. Okay, it's not saying lishbor batocha abayim to break among those who are coming, but to buy grain. Okay, these are they are homographs. They look the same, sound the same, homonyms, but they have different meanings. So this is a hefil of that. So a mashbir is a hefil participle, one who causes to shavar, who causes to trade in grain, right? Causes to buy grain. So he was the hamashbir, the one who was in charge of the grain trade. Is basically what that's saying. The one who caused. He was the causer of grain trade. He's the market maker. There would be a modern way to translate it, like you have with stock trades and stuff. He was the mashbil. He was the market maker for grain. Lechol, for all of the am haaretz, the people of the land. Vayavo, when they entered, who's the they? Da Ache Yosef, the brothers of Joseph, or when they arrived. Vayishtachavu. Then they prostrated down. This is a word that is very often over translated as worshipped. I've made the point of sharing with you guys that the Messiah, that there's no clear text that he's worshipped in the apostolic writings, but that people bow down to him, they prostrate down to him, right? Not saying that, I'm not commenting on the divinity of the Messiah, so don't get angry. Some people get mad and they flame me. This says I'm not talking about it. I'm just saying the protocol is we have no clear instruction to worship him, but to prostrate down like you do before a king. And that's what they're doing here. The Greek word is proskuneo. That's a Jewish Greek word that maps absolutely to this word here, yishtachavu. They prostrated down. And in context, you can translate that as as worship, depending on context, right? So it's really a translator choice. It's not like the translators are out being diabolical. They just have an existing worldview, and that gets naturally imposed on the text. Then they bowed down to him. They prostrated down to him. Apayim aritza. Apayim, like the nostrils towards the ground. So the face is totally facing down. It's totally humble. They're not looking up at him from the ground. They're face down. Kimchi, also known as Radak, teaches that he had commanded that everyone who wanted rations should first come before him to request permission to buy. He knew that there was famine in Canaan and that his brothers would come down. And he wanted to make sure that when they came down, they would have to appear before him, which indeed happened. So he's been waiting for this, he's been planning on it. He knew it's going to happen. Verse 7. Vaya Yosef et Echai Vayakireim ויתנקה עליהם וידבר איתם קשות ויאמר עליהם מאין באתם ואמרו מארץ כנען לשפוך אוכל. Okay. Vaya Yosef. Again, it's Ra'ah, Reish Aleph Hey. That hey, that sneaky hey keeps disappearing. Hey, hey, hey. It disappeared. Vaya Yosef. Then Yosef saw, he noticed. Et Echaiv. The Achim of Aiv. His brothers. He saw them. Vayakireim. Vayakireim. The verbal root here is nachar, nun kaf resh. The nun has assimilated into the kaf. Vayan kirem became vayakirem. So, and he recognized aim, them. And then if you take the same root, nakar, but you put it hitpile, it means to make yourself not recognizable. So vayit naker, and he disguised himself, alehem, concerning them, or towards them. Malbim comments that Joseph's recognition was intellectual, whereas their failure to recognize him was due to habituation. So let's continue. Vayedaber, vayedaber, and he spoke itam with them. Kashot. What is kashot? You remember in the book of Exodus when there arises a Pharaoh who did not know Joseph? I believe this was a revolution against the Hyksos that we know did happen in Egypt, and an Egyptian is enthroned. Then we're told that the Egyptians afflicted our ancestors with avodah kasha, harsh labor. Some translate backbreaking labor, harsh labor. This is the same word here. So kashot, going to the plural, sometimes you can get an adverb this way. So kasha became kashot. Vaydaber itam kashot. He spoke with them harshly. Like literally, it's harshes. Vayomer, and he said, Alehem, that's el plus hem becomes alehem. Unto them, may ayin, from where, or from whence, if you're doing older style, batem, have you all bowed, have you come, have you arrived from? Where did you come from? Who are you? Vayomer u. Then they said, may, that's just min, became may, from the Eretz Canaan, the land of Canaan. Lishbol ochel, to buy food. Any comments or questions while I take a drink? All right, let's read from the Leningrad codex now, and we'll translate as we go without tones. Vayavo'u b'nei Yisrael lishbol betoch haba'im. When the children of Israel, when the sons of Israel arrived or entered to buy grain in the midst of those who were arriving. Ki, because Haya hara'av, the famine, haya, was be eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan. Verse 6. The Yosef hu hashalit al haaretz. Now Yosef, he was the authority, the shalit, some would say the ruler, all over haaretz, the land. Who he was hamashbil, the grain market maker. Lechol am haaretz, for all of the people of the land. Vayavo'u ache Yosef, when Joseph's brothers arrived, or when they entered, Vayishtachavu lo, they prostrated down to him, apayim aretza, like face toward the ground, literally nostrils groundward. Verse 7. Vayar Yosef et Echaiv, vayakireim. When Joseph ra'ad, when he saw his brothers, then he recognized them. Vayitnaker aleihem, but he disguised himself towards them. Vayidaber itam, and he spoke with them kashot, harshly. Now we have some space here because the top part was the bottom of a column. There's in the Leningrad codex you have 3 columns at a time, right? So this is the next column over. So we had to start at the top, so that's why the white space. And I don't like to cut off the pretty lameds. So same verse in the BHS. Here it is. It's Vayomer. Okay, right after Kashot. Vayomer alehem. Then he said to them, "May ayin batem, from where have you come?" Vayomeru, and they said, "May eretz Canaan, from the land of Canaan." This is just space filling stuff. Lishbo ochel, to acquire grain, to buy grain. In case you're wondering why it's O here instead of Ah, I'm not just being extra Ashkenazi today. Uh, because of the makef, it's hard to see here, but you can see in the BHS. This indicates that in ancient times these words were read as a compound word, like as if it's one. So it wasn't lishba ochel, even though we read it that way today. It was lishbochel, lishbochel. You see, like it's one word almost. Lishbochel. So that makes this a closed syllable, and it's unaccented. The accent moves to the end, and hence that's why we pronounce it as an O. You don't have to worry about these things. It's just I'm trying to give something for everybody, right? So whatever your level is, that you could have something. Any comments or questions? I think I'll just read through the codex one more time. I feel like reading through it one more time without translation. Okay. Vayavo b'nei Yisrael lishbo b'toch haba'im. Ki haya hara'av be'eretz Canaan. Vayosef hu hashalit al haaretz. Hu hamashbir lechol am haaretz. Vayavo'u achi Yosef. Vayishtachavu lo apayim aretza. Vaya Yosef et echai vayakireim. ויתנקה עליהם, וידבר איתם קשות, ויאמר עליהם, מאין באתם? ויאמרו, מארץ כנען, לשבור אוכל. So, let's go ahead and take a little oneg break, because we're commanded, titoneg bayom HaShabbat, delight yourselves in the Sabbath day. So why don't you take a little, let's say 3 to 5 minute break, probably like 3.5 or so, maybe 4, we'll see. And we'll have a little musical interlude here with some Hebrew literacy original music. And I'll see you back when it's done.
Joseph threw them all in jail. He tossed them in the slammer. I wanna be like him, but when he threw It was only for 3 days of worry, 3 days of concern, babbling in Egyptian. That was not a good feeling. They went down to Egypt to try to get some grub, but Joseph saw them coming. They tried to be sneaky to enter in several gates. Joseph's men saw and he knew just who they were. You sold your brother out, you gave him to the Ishmaelim, left him for dead, 20 pieces of silver for you. In the end, these terrible things, they were for the greater good. When people roll their eyes, take your pearls and run. In the end, the race is run, and then begins the fun.
Hey, welcome back. All right. Hope you had a good break. Let's continue. By the way, sorry that we haven't got the next record out there on Hebrew literacy. I've had some delays. Sorry about that. Hopefully this week we'll get that out for those of you who are interested who like the music. All right, Genesis chapter 42, verse 8. Vayakel Yosef et Echaiv Vehem lo hikiruhu. Vayakel Yosef. In ancient times, Vayan Kel, again, Nachar to recognize. Vayan Kel Yosef, Vayakel Yosef. Then, so Joseph recognized et Echaiv, his brothers, Vehem, but they, and this is almost like an insult. I think there's something emotional here because this is an emphatic pronoun. You don't need the Haim because the U here in Hikiru, that says they. So literally, Vehem, but they, lo, not Hikiru, they recognized who? Him. Vehem lo Hikiruhu. But they, not they recognize him, but they did not recognize him. You see the special emphasis. Whenever you have a pronoun that you don't need, it seems redundant. That is almost always an emphatic pronoun. Okay, verse 9. Vayizkor Yosef et hacholomot asher chalam lahem vayomer alehem meragelim atem lirot et ervat haaretz batem vayizkor. Like, we say Yizkor. Do Sephardim Yizkor? Surely. We say Yizkor, the 1 year memorial, right? So Vayizkor Yosef. Then Joseph remembered. He's a Akkad. He remembered. Don't worry about that Dagesha. That's just because it's a Begad Kafat letter. That's just for pronunciation reasons. Et the Chalomot, the dreams. Asher, which Chalam, he dreamed. Lahem, concerning them. It's interesting. It's for them. So you could understand that it's like the dreams are to save them and such. Vayomer, and he said, Alehem, unto them, Miragelim atem, spies are you. Lirot, to find, to see, et the irvat haaretz, the nakedness of the land, perhaps the weakness of the land. Batem, you have come. Midrash Beishit Rabbah 91:6, and also Midrash Tanchuma Miketz 5 teaches that he said to them, "You are spies because you entered through 10 gates." Tanchuma gives some more detail about the planning and what was involved in that. Right. So the Midrash teaches that Yosef had very vigilant guards, watchmen at all the different gates, and so they recognized if these people split up, they had people outside the city too, right? They split up and entered, and that cause suspicion. That's like a flag, a red flag, because normally groups would stick together, right? It's safer that way against bandits and all that stuff. So why split up? Now we have another midrash that Yaakov Avinu had instructed them to split up because they're all very handsome men, right? Super good looking, and they didn't want the ayin hara, the evil eye, to be too much against them. That something might happen to one or more of them. So by splitting up, it's not like like you got a group of models walking down the street. That's going to get some attention versus just one good-looking guy. Maybe nobody cares, right? Even he's got his face down, maybe nobody cares. But 10 good-looking guys, it's hard to to ignore. Verse 10. ויאמרו אליו לו אדוני ועבדיך באו לשבור אוכל. Okay. Vayomeru, but they said alive unto him, Lo, no, Adoni, my Lord. Va'avadecha. Now this vav, it might sound weird, like to say, and your servants, right? Probably this vav is functioning emphatically. It's called if I'm right about this, it's the wow emphaticum, right? So it's like just making what they're saying stronger. Your servants, ba'u, they arrived. Lishbo ochel, they've come to buy food. Oops, sorry. Verse 11. Kulanu b'nei shechad nachnu kenim anachnu lo hayu avadecha meragelim. Okay. Kulanu. This is a compound word from kol, meaning all or everyone, and nu of us. So kulanu, all of us, are de bnei ish echad, sons of one man. Nachnu are we. Kenim anachnu. Kenim is like gnats, 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 or some other kind of little useless bug. Gnats anachnu are we. They're being very humble. Lo hayu lavadecha me'aglim. Your servants, lo hayu, they are not, or they haven't been, me'aglim, spies. Verse 12. Vayomer alehem lo ki arvat haaretz batem lirot. Vayomer alehem, but he said to them, lo, no, ki, indeed, de alvat haaretz, the nakedness of the land, the weaknesses. Batem, you have come, lirot, to discover. Ra'akimi, to discover, to find, or we can be hyperliteral, to see. Mabim comments that he repeated his accusation in order to test whether they would stand by their words. Stand by your words. Verse 13. Vayomeru shenei asah avadecha achim anachnu b'nei shechad be'eretz Canaan והנה הקטון את אבינו היום והאחד איננו. Vayomeru, but they said, and they said, Shenem Asar, 210, so that's 12, are Avadecha, your servants, the avadim of Cha, achim anachnu, brothers. Remember, you gotta think like Yoda. Achim anachnu, brothers are we? Yes, we are brothers. Da bnei ish. That's banim, sons of an ish of a man. What kind of man? Echad, one man. Be'eretz Canaan. Be'in the Eretz Canaan, the land of Canaan. Vehine, and look, or behold, Hakaton, the young one, literally the little, et with Avinu, our father, Hayom today. Veha echad, and the one, so they're basically accounting for. They said we're 12. You can see there's only 10 here, so they're accounting for the other two, right? Hakaton et Avinu, the young one is with our father, Hayom today. The ha'echad and the other, literally, and the one, Einenu, he isn't, meaning like he is no more is kind of what it's saying. He is not. They just assume that it'd be too hard to survive for a young pampered man, slavery in Egypt. Man, how could you live with the guilt of that all those years? Can you imagine? I mean, we've all done things we regret, and some of the things we carry with us, right? Foolishness of our youth and such. But sell your brother into slavery and cause your father depression for decades. Whew, that's a hard one to come back from. You know, it's a hard one to come back from. Okay, let's look at the codex. Vayakel Yosef et Echaiv. Then Joseph recognized his brothers. Vehem, but they lo hikiruhu. They didn't recognize him. Verse 9. Vayizkor Yosef et hachalomot. Then Yosef remembered et hachalomot, the dreams. Asher which chalam lahem, he dreamed for them. Just going to be literal. Vayomer alehem, and he said to them, Miragelim atem, lirot et avat haaretz batem. Spies are you to find the weaknesses of the land you've come. Verse 10. Vayomeru Eliv, but they said to him, Lo Adoni, va'avadecha ba'u lishbo ochel. Lo Adoni, no, my master, my lord. Va'avadecha, indeed, your servants ba'u have come lishbo ochel, to buy food. Verse 11. Kulanu b'nei ish echad. We are all sons of one man. Nachnu, we are. Kenim anachnu. Fleas we are, or gnats we are. Hayu avadecha meraglim. Oh, sorry, lo. Oops. Lo hayu avadecha meraglim. Your servants have never been spies. Literally, lo have not been your servants' spies. Verse 13. Vayoma alehem, but he said to them, Lo, no. Ki avat haaretz batem. It is for the weakness of the land, literally the nakedness of the land, that you have come. Lirot, to find. Literally to see, but you can check halot, halat, they list as finding as a possible meaning for ha'ah. Verse 13, Vayomeru, shenem asar avadecha, achim anachnu, b'nei ish echad. Vayomeru, then they said, shenem asar, 12 are the avadecha, your servants. Achim anachnu, we are brothers. B'nei ish echad, sons of one man. Be'eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan. Vehine, and behold, Hakaton, the young one, literally the little one, et with Avinu, our father, Hayom today. Veha'achad, but the other, Einenu, he is not. Okay, we'll just read it through. No translation, just for the feel of it. Do your best to absorb. Vayaker Yosef et Echaiv, vehem lo hikiruhu. ויזכור יוסף את החלומות אשר חלם להם. ויאמר עליהם, מרגלים אתם, לראות את אהבת הארץ בתם. ויאמרו אליו, לא אדוני, ועבדיך באו לשבור אוכל. כולנו בני איש אחד אנחנו, כנים אנחנו, לא היו עבדיך מרגלים. ויאמר עליהם, לא, כי ערוות הארץ באתם לראות. ויאמרו, 12 לעבדיך, אחים אנחנו, בני איש אחד בארץ כנען. והנה, הקטון את אבינו היום, והאחד איננו. Here's the end of the Torah portion. Genesis chapter 42, verse 14. Vayomer alehem Yosef, hu asher dibarti alechem lemo me'agelim atem. Vayomer, then he said, alehem, unto them, Yosef. See how the object oftentimes will, or the object or the indirect object will sneak in before the subject, right? Vayomer alehem Yosef. Then Joseph said unto them, Hu asher dibarti, it is how I have spoken, I said, alechem, unto you all, lemor, saying, me'agelim atem, spies are you. This is following a very Egyptian pattern here. I think what we have is the actual Egyptian being translated directly into the Hebrew. Verse 15. Bezot tibachenu hey Pharaoh im tetzeu bize kim bevo achichem hakaton heina bezot. This is how. By this, with this, in this. Tibachenu. So the verb here is bachan. Just realized I didn't mark it. I wanted to mark it for you because I have a nice note on it. So bachan, this is the word that's used in Yechezkiel, in the book of Ezekiel, to talk about testing metals by melting them, right? So, for example, someone might try to sell you some metal that's an alloy of gold and something else, and it looks like it might be pure gold or very close to it. But gold is a very low melting temperature comparatively to other metals. And so what you would do is you would raise it to the temperature that you know melts gold, but not other things, and see if anything's left over. The gold melts through, comes out. If there's something left over, then you know they ripped you off, right? Archimedes discovers a better way, right? Later on, using the displacement of water based on density of different materials, right? That's where the famous Eureka, I have found, in the Greek. So when he's in the bathtub and he notices the water level going up and down, the king had contracted him to find out if he had been ripped off by a merchant who sold him a golden crown, right? And so Archimedes, he's in the bath and he's thinking about it, and then he realizes it. He realizes as the water level goes up and down, as he puts his leg down in there or whatever, that the water displaced will be different from different materials, right? So that's the Eureka! I have found. Hey Pharaoh, by the life of Pharaoh, im tetzeu, if we'll go out, if you will go out, mizeh, from here, ki im, for if, bevo achechem, when arrives your brother, hakaton, the little one, hena, towards you. Now it's a bit garbled again. This is, the syntax is a bit difficult, but I think you can put it together what he's saying. None of you are going to go out. You're not going to go out until or unless, the ki'im here is like more unless, bevo achechem, the arrival of your brother. Which one? Hakaton, the young one. Hena, towards her, because he knows who that is. It's Benjamin. That's the one he wants to see. So Hey Pharaoh is kind of interesting. I was thinking this seems a bit weird for him to be saying by the life of Pharaoh. Swearing by the king of Egypt, however, is normal administrative language in Middle Egyptian. That's what people oftentimes call ancient Egyptian. The phrase was likely anach, n or ne, per, and actually we could have had a determinative here. And then this is just the Pharaoh, right? The text shares cleanly in Hebrew. The life, that's the anach, the ankh. Ni is of para'ah. Per-ra-ra. Pharaoh. House, the big one, the big house. Verse 16. Shilechu mikem echad. Shilechu, that's from shalach, to send, and this is a command. Shilechu, send out, mikkem, from you all, echad, one. Vayikach, from lakach, and he will take et achichem, your brothers, your brother, ve'atem, while you all, he'aseru, you'll be tied up, like you'll be in bondage, you'll be captive. Ve'yibachanu, that's that verb again, bachan. Ve'yin bachanu became ve'yib bachanu. Divrechem, and your words will be tested. Ha'emet, the hey here, this is a question mark, a hey interrogative. Are emet true? Itechem, with you all. The imlo, but if not, hey fa'o, again, as Pharaoh lives, like it's definitely going to happen. It's an Egyptian oath formula. Ki meragelim atem, indeed, spies are you. Verse 17. Vayesof otam el mishma sheloshet yamim. Vayesof otam. Then he added them, or gathered them rather, el unto mishma, custody, or sometimes more concretely, the jail. It might have even been like his personal jail in his own palace, as rich officials in Egypt oftentimes had their own dungeon, their own jail. Shaloshet yamim, 3 days. So for 3 days. So he put them in jail for 3 days. I think Rashi says, is it Rashi? I think Rashi says to annoy them. So he's not doing them any harm. They have food, they have water, right? He's just annoying them. Not too bad when you think about it. I mean, you can't judge Joseph for this. Some people are like, but it says vengeance is the Lord's. Look what they did to this guy. He lost his father, right? And he was a slave, and he got abused, and he had to be in prison, and all this stuff, right? All because of them. I think it's okay to mess with people a little bit, if they did something terrible to you, right? Like if someone sabotaged your dream college or something, or somebody they did something, they beat you, or they did something else, and they come back and they're apologetic, whatever. Sure, you can mess with them a little bit. That's not really revenge. I mean, it's not really revenge. It's not tit for tat to mess with somebody a little bit. I mean, 3 days in jail for these guys? Give me a break. It's nothing. He totally left the vengeance to Hashem. And likely he didn't even want it. One of the reasons he gets the wonderful title, Yosef HaTzadik, Joseph the Just, or Joseph the Righteous. Okay, let's read now from the Leningrad Codex. Oh, let's see. Okay, I didn't gray out that part. There, fix it. Vayomer alehem Yosef. Then Joseph said to them, Hu asher dibarti. It is as I said, alechem, unto you all. Lemor, saying, Meragelim atem. You are spies. Bezot tibachenu. By this it shall be tested, put to the test, found out. Chei Pharaoh, as Pharaoh lives, or as Pharaoh's life. Im teitzeu mizeh, if you will go out from here, ki im, none, you will not go out from here until bevo achechem, your brother has come. Hakaton, the young one, Hena, towards here. Shilchu mikem echad, send forth from you all one. Vayikach, that he might take et achichem, your brother. Ve'atem, and you all, heaseru, shall be bound, or like locked up, ve'yibachanu, divrechem. And so your words will be tested. Ha'emet, is it true? Itachem with you? Ve'im lo, but if not, che Pharaoh. As Pharaoh lives, and by the life of Pharaoh, ki meraglim atem. Indeed, you are spies. Vayesof otam el mishma. So he gathered them unto custody or unto the jail, shiloshet yamim, for 3 days. All right, let's just read it one more time. Just normal reading, no translation. Just absorb it. Genesis 42, verse 14, in the Hebrew from the Leningrad codex. Vayomer alehem Yosef, hu asher dibarti alechem, lemo, regalim atem, bezot tibachenu, chei faro, im teitzeu mize, ki im bevo achichem, hakaton, heina. שלחו מכם אחד ויקח את אחיכם, ואתם העשרו ויבחנו דבריכם האמת איתכם, ואם לא, חי פרעה, כי מרגלים אתם. ויאסוף אותם אל משמר 3 ימים. Okay, you made it through the Torah portion. That was a nice, brief one, wasn't it? It's kind of like a perfect size, I think. It's really, really nice. It'd be nice if we had more time. We could break them all up like that to really just kind of. So, any comments or questions? I think we've got time for the Haftarah, so I think we'll do the Haftarah in Hebrew today. Okay, let's go ahead and take a stab at the Haftarah, the ancient Triennial Haftarah. You can find it in Isaiah 55. It's Isaiah 55. Hoi kol tzameh, woe or alas, to all who are thirsty. Hoi is like an interjection there. It might be like, hey, hey, kol tzameh, to all who are thirsty, lechu, lechu. It's a command. Go, lamayim, to the water. Va'asher ein lo, and for the one who doesn't have kasif, money, or silver literally, lechu, go, shiveru, buy grain. Va'echol u, and eat. Ulechu, ulechu, and go. Shiveru, buy. Belok chesef, without money. Uvelo mechir, and without a purchase price. Yayin, wine, vechalav, and milk. Verse 2, Lama tishkelu chesef. Why will you weigh out silver below lechem with no bread? Vigiachem, when you expire, below lesova, without being satisfied. Shime'u, hear, shamua, continuously, like keep listening, Eli unto me. Ve'ichelu, then eat, tov, well. Ve'tita anag, and delight yourself, badeshin, with the oil, nafshechem, of your life. Verse 3, hatu oznechem, incline your ears. Ulechu, then go, or walk, Eli unto me. Shime'u, hear, utechi, or pardon me, utechi, that might live nafshechem, your life, your soul, your life force might live. The lachem, and I indeed will cut, or let me cut a berit, an eternal berit. What kind of berit? Eternal, a covenant of olam, of eternality. Chazdei Zawiv, the love of David, or the kindnesses of David, Hane'emanim, the faithful ones. Verse 4. Hain, Eid Le'omim. These are the testimony or the witness, Le'omim, to the nations. Netativ, I have appointed him. Nagid, a prince. Ometzaveh, and a command giver or commander. Le'omim, for the peoples. Verse 5. Hain goy lo teda. Behold, goy lo teda, a nation you do not know. Tikra, you will call. The goy and a nation, lo yeda'ucha, who they have not known you. Elecha, unto you. Yarutsu, they will run. Le'ma'an, for the sake of Hashem. Elohecha, your God. Velikdosh, and for the Holy One, scroll up there, of Yisrael. Ki fe'arach. Fe'arach is your glory, for it's your glory. It's kind of a rare word for glory. Verse 6. Dirshu Adonai. Seek Adonai. Behi matzeo. When he is found, kira'u, call him. Bichyoto, when he will be karov, or then he will be near. Verse 7. Ya azov rasha. So this is probably with Joseph force. May the wicked one abandon darko, his way. The ish aven, and the unjust man or the lawless man, machshavotav, his machinations, his wicked thoughts is what it's saying. His bad plans, his schemes. That's probably a good way to translate it. V'yashov el Adonai, and may he return, may he shuv unto Hashem. V'rachamehu, and he will pity him, or he will have mercy on him. Ve'el, and unto Eloheinu, our God. Ki yarbe l'sloach, for he magnifies forgiveness. Literally, he makes great, he makes numerous to forgive. Verse 8. This is Isaiah chapter 55, verse 8. V'lo machshavotai, machshavotechem, for not are my thoughts your thoughts, or my plans your plans. You can interpret it either way. Velo, and not darchechem, are your ways. Derachai, my ways. Ne'um Adonai, the utterance of Hashem. Verse 9. Some would say oracle. I just don't like using that for God. Ki gavehu, for high up are shemayim me'aretz. For higher up is the sky than the earth, or the heavens than the earth. Cain, such, gavehu, such is their height, is derachai, my ways. Midarchechem, than your ways. So my ways are higher or loftier than your ways. Gavoah, kind of the idea of loftiness. Umachshavotai, and my thoughts, or machshavotai, mim, than machshavotechem, than your thoughts. Ki ka'asher yered hageshem v'hasheleg min hashemayim. For according to how comes down the rain and the snow min hashemayim, from the sky, v'shama, and over there, lo yashuv, it doesn't return. Ki im herva et haaretz, but it like inundates the earth or the land. Ve'holi da, and it causes it to give birth to Yalad, Hifel of Yalad. Vehitzmicha, and it causes it to grow, to tzamach, or tzamech. Venatan zera, and it gives seed, lazorea, for seeding, velechem, and food, laochel, for the food, or bread for the food, either way, for eating. Verse 11, Kain yuchye devarai, such will be my way, my words, asher, which, yetze mipi, which go out from my mouth. Kind of makes you think of that. Do you understand the words that are yetze mipi? Lo yashuv elai. It will not return to me. Rekam, empty. Ki im asa, for if did et asher, that which chafattu, I delighted, the hitzliach, then is successful. Asher, the one or that which shelach tuiv, I have sent it. We're almost done with Haftarah. Verse 12. Sorry, the annotations aren't as useful as usual. Hiva simcha, for joyously, literally in joy or with joy. Teitzeu, you shall come out from Yatzah. Uve shalom, and peacefully or with peace. Tuvalun. So this is a whole file from Yaval. It's to be brought as a gift, but then there's a paragogic a paragogic nen. So you shall be brought. The idea is also, this word is also used for escorting a bride, but in Job and other places, it can also mean to be escorted to the grave, right? So, but I think we've got joyousness here. Tuvalun, you shall be escorted. Heharim, the mountains, vehagivaot, and the hills. Yiftzechu, they will celebrate. Lifnechem, before you all. Rina, Rina, it's like a joyous sound you make, like Rina. Vechol, and all of the Atzei Hasadeh, the trees of the field. Yimcha'u chaf, they will clap the hand, or really the palm. Finally, verse 13, the end of Isaiah 55. Tachat hana'atzutz. This is a kind of thorn, like a rare word for thorn. I don't remember exactly what kind of thorn it is. I don't know all the flora and fauna, what exactly they are. A camel thorn. Camel thorn. But I think this only occurs like twice in the Bible. Maybe only here. Tachat hana'atzutz, instead of the camel thorn, Yarale, the rosh, will come up juniper. Tachat, in place of the stinging nettle, hasirpad, the sirpad, the stinging nettle. Some just see this as another kind of thorn bush. Ya'ale, hadas, will come up or will grow up. Hadas, myrtle. It's funny, I remember that it's myrtle, but I don't know exactly what myrtle is. I should have. Usually, in the past, when I looked up and memorized all the flora and fauna that I could, I would look it up and draw a picture of it and stuff. But maybe sometimes things got rushed. So I think it's a soft plant, isn't it? The kind. It's got like these little micro fibers on it. I think it's soft, like a soft. The leaves are really soft to the touch. I could be wrong. V'haya, and it shall be ladonai for Hashem, leshem, for fame, literally a name. Those of you who always like to say the name of God, that you think it's always hyper literal, just keep in mind it can mean reputation. The reputation, le'ot, for a sign, lo'olam, of eternity. Lo, not, yikaret, so that's yin karet, became yikaret, shall be cut off, shall not be cut off. Baruch Hashem. Let's go ahead and just read the Haftarah one more time, just in the Hebrew, without translation, just to feel the words of the prophet. This is Isaiah, Yeshayahu, chapter 55. Hoi kol tzameh, lechu lamayim, va'asher ein lo kasef, lechu shivru ve'echolu, lechu shivru belo chesef, velo mechir yain v'chalav. Verse 2. Lama tishkalu chesef belo lechem, v'giachem belo lesova, shimeu shamoa elai, v'chalu tov, v'tid anag badeshen nafshechem. Verse 3. Hat tu oznechem, Ulechu elai, shima'u utechi nafshechem, ve'echata lachem berit olam, chazdei daviv hane'emanim. Hein aid leumim natativ, nagid umitzaveh leumim. Of course, it's talking about Messiah, right? It's about David and his descendants and such. Hein goy lo tedza tikra vegoy lo yedaucha elecha yarutzu leman Adonai Elohecha v'likdosh Yisrael ki fe'arach. Verse 6. Dirshu Adonai behimatzeu. Pardon me. Oh, behimatzeu. Kera'uhu bichyoto karov. Ya'azov rasha darko. Ve'ish aven machshavotayv. וישוב אל אדוני וירחמהו ואל אלוהינו כי ירבה לסלוח כי לא מחשבותיי מחשבותיכם ולא דרכיכם דרכי נאום אדוני כי גבהו שמיים מארץ pardon me because את מחתה כן גבהו דרכי מדרכיכם ומחשבותיי ממחשבותיכם. Verse 10. כי כאשר ירד הגשם והשלג מן השמיים, ושמה לא ישוב כי אם הלווה את הארץ, והולידה, והצמיחה, ונתן זרע לזורע, ולחם לאוכל. Verse 11. כן יחיה דברי, כאשר יצא מפי, לא ישוב אלי ריקם, כי אם עשה את אשר חפצתי, והצליח אשר שילחתיו. 12. כי בשמחה תצאו, ושלום תובלון, ההרים והגבעות, יפצחו לפניכם, רינה וכל עצי השדה, ימחאו כף. Finally, verse 13. תחת הנעוצוץ יעלה וראש, תחת הסרפד יעלה הדס, והיה לאדוני לשם לאות לעולם לא יכרת. All right, now to finish up, I wanted to share with you guys a Gezerah Shava that kind of jumped out to me from a word in the Torah portion here, a Gezerah Shava between the Torah and the Besorat Matityahu. So let me just show you. Here's the verse from the Torah portion. It's Genesis chapter 42, verse 9. And it said, Vaiskol Yosef et hacholomot. Then Joseph remembered the dreams, asher which chalam lahem, he dreamed for them. Vayomer, and he said, alehem, unto them, Meragelim atem, your spies, lerot, to find et ervat haaretz, the weakness of the land, batem, you've come. Right, so it's this meragelim. This is interesting. If we just look at it consonantally, actually very similar even with the vowels, it made me think of a verse in Matthew, Matityahu chapter 7, verse 6. Me dote, don't give, to hagion, that which is holy, literally the holy thing, tois, to the kusin, to the dogs, to the kalbim. Me de, don't, balete, like throw or cast. This is where we get the word ekbalo, which is to exercise, like exercise a demon, to cast out. So don't balete, don't you all cast or throw tus margaritas, the margarita. And then interesting, that's how you say pearl in Greek. The pearls, humon of you. So Hebraic, right? We have the margaritas chem, humon of you all. Empress then before ton chariron, before the swine, the pigs, the wild boars. Mepote, that's pen in Hebrew, lest katapatesusin, they will trample. And the idea is like to trample so heavily that it causes injury, right? According to BDAG. Autus, you. And tois posin auton. And it doesn't have to mean in, it can mean with the dative can mean with. Tois the posin, foot auton of him, of them with their feet. So specifically, trample you with the foot. This is a clue to what's happening in Hebrew. Yeshua is not speaking Greek here, guys, okay? This is the scroll of Matthew. We have early witnesses that know that testify that this scroll was originally in Hebrew, right? So, and of course, he's not speaking to his disciples in Greek. I have a video out there that I've shared where I prove I believe that he speaks to Nicodemus in Greek because Nicodemus is probably a Hellenized Jew with Greek being his main language. But to his disciples, he's definitely, I believe, speaking to them in Hebrew. Hi, and oops, did I say you on Altus? It's a flexible pronoun. It can be whatever. I think it's them referring back to the Margaritas. Nepote lest, katapate susin, lest they trample, causing injury, autus, them. It would only be you if it's like more of you, multiple of you, like plural. Well, look, he did use plural here, don't cast. And tois posen auton with his hooves, with his feet, rather. Kai, and this is what cued me off when I saw this word. I'm like, oh yeah, I think I mistranslated that one. Strafentes, and turning, retzosin. Rezo, excuse me, I'm having hiccups, is to tear to pieces. Humas, you. Excuse me. Whew. So let's reconstruct the Hebrew in the style that was alive in those days. Here's what I put together, what I think Yeshua might have said. Al tiptenu, don't give et hakodesh, that which is holy, which is interesting because this could actually even mean like the thing that the priest would eat, right? Like what's from the altar, but maybe not. Le kilavim, to the dogs. Ve'al, and don't tashlichu, don't cast margalim. And here we have our Gezer Shava moment. See, look up here in the text today, Meragalim, that's what made me think of Margalim. If you just change the vowels a little bit, Meragalim means spies, right? Having to do with feet, like you go in there, whatever. But Margalim means pearls. It's one of the ways to say pearls. Lifnei, before Chazirim, before swine. Chazir, right? Chazir. Pen, lest. Yeragelu, lest they will regale them. V'chazeru, and spin around or turn around, v'yitrefu, and tear to pieces etchem, you all. Now, what the Messiah is doing here, he's making a really cool mnemonic, which is lost in the Greek and then lost in further translations. But in the Hebrew, in this kind of earlier Mishnaic or post-biblical Hebrew that was spoken in Israel in those times, it makes a lot of sense when you reconstruct it. So al titnu, don't give et hakodesh, that which is holy, lekal lavim, to the dogs. The al, and don't tashechu, and here comes meragelim, don't cast pearls. Oh, I should have said meragelecha, but that's fine. Okay, fine, whatever. But we'll just say pearls. That's fine. Well, actually, you can even assume sometimes that you're in poetry. Don't cast pearls, lifnei, before chazirim. Hear it? Chazirim. Pen lest yeragelu. So here, meragelim, pearls, yeragelu. They will trample, right? And in case you don't believe me about this being a possibility, Mitchell Dahoud writes about the body part regel being used as a verb in many places. A very well-known Ugaritic and Phoenician Hebrew scholar. So that ragal could mean to pace or step. So I'm just taking a PL to be to trample. And the Greek was very specific. Katapate sun autos and tois posen auto, to trample them with the feet, right? But you don't need to say trample with the feet. We don't have to say the normal Hebrew word for trample. You can just say yiragelu, because it's from regel, from the word for foot. You see, it's like to foot them. They will foot them. So don't cast your miragelim, your pearls, to chazirim, lest they yiragelum, trample, like foot them. And now we're talking about chazirs, right? The chazirs, and they might chazeru, they might spin. Notice it sounds the same. Chazir and chazeru. They might turn around. V'yitarafu etchem. V'yitarafu etchem. and tear you to pieces. We could have said Vayitrafuchem if we wanted to make it terser. So I believe the Messiah is intentionally employing multiple mnemonics here to make it easier for the disciples to remember his teaching, right? Using these play on words in Hebrew that are lost later. A very good teaching in the little sense. Is it bad to not know that this is happening in the English or whatever your language is? No, that's fine. But it loses some of its beauty, doesn't it? We have miragel related to rigel. We have chazil and chazal, right? And there might have even been more in there. This is just what I reconstructed with this. So, okay, what is our lekach today? So, as we learned from the sages, the Satan loves to attack in times of danger, right? What that means, it doesn't necessarily mean like he's attacking you with weapons, but he loves to accuse, right? He loves to employ the power of Ayin Hara, the evil eye. He loves to go to the ultimate judge, Hashem, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, and say, "Look at this guy, look at this gal. He's in this dangerous situation, but look what he did in the past." Right? At the time of danger, that's when he loves to attack. This, of course, we shared in the Torah portion this time as it related to the danger of the Ra'av, the famine. So beware. It can be life or death walking correctly in the Achayiv in his ways. Revenge, even vengeful words, must be avoided. Try to keep that out of your mind, out of your life, even when you really think you deserve it. I had something really horrible that I'm not going to share happen to me some years back. And of course, my mind was I really wanted to like burn the place down. The people that did this to me just, but instead, the proper thing to say is Hashem sees. Hashem sees. Oh, there's an example I don't mind sharing. Here's a different example, not so horrible. Some years back, the neighbors that lived across from us stole my workout, my weightlifting bench, and a light and a fan, some other things that we had outside in our gated area, right? Under the out from the rain, but kind of an open gate. They stole it. I know they did. I won't get into all the details how I know, but I know they did, right? And one of them, really weird. We didn't have any conflict with them or anything, but one of the other ones who lived in the same house, I caught him in midday urinating on our house one time, like on the gate to it, right? Not the gate, but like the wall to the house, like the wall that surrounds the property of the house. Yeah, that not exactly on the house, but the wall that's right there next to the house. But you understand, he had to cross the street. He had to walk away from his house to get over to us to pee on this. So I think there's definitely something spiritual going on. They're often drunk and stuff. Well, this is the middle of the day, right? I remember saying, "Hey, don't do that again. Don't come over here to pee. Pee on your own wall. You know, like you got to cross the street to share your smell, the smell of urine with me." So anyway, so they stole from us. They did that, and I just remember thinking, "Ah, Hashem sees. Hashem sees." And not saying that I wanted any kind of vengeance on them for this little stealing some things and whatever. But you know what? That house isn't there anymore. There was some issues happened, and they were evicted out of the place. The police came and removed them, and the owner of the property demolished the house. Turned out that they thought they had bought the place and they hadn't bought it, and it came to light. And you know, I mean, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But if you think that you can get revenge for the bad things that happened to you, that's just foolish. If you really want vengeance, do nothing. There's nothing you can dream of that can compare to the vengeance that Hashem, the shilumah that Hashem can give, or the shilaim, the revenge. Well, the nakam, there's all kinds of words. I mean, oh, I feel bad for them even thinking about it now, but it's like, man, you don't need revenge. Leave it to him. Resist the urge to use that stinging word to speak something vengeful to the person. Instead, just think to yourself, Hashem sees. Or if you want to take another tact, Rav Shaul, what's he say? Rabbi Shaul, the Apostle Paulos, he says, well, he's quoting, of course, from Tanakh, but he says, when your enemy hungers, feed him. When he's thirsty, give him drink. For when you do that, you're heaping coals of fire on his. It's from Jewish wisdom literature. He didn't come up with that, but still, that's where it's popularized. It's from Paulos. Be nice to him. Not your motive should be that you're putting coals of fire in his head, but you know. And you then master your musar even better. You master yourself even more. I'm not talking down. I need to do this as well. Okay, I'm not talking down to anybody. I'm talking to myself, and you just happen to be here listening. Do not waste your holy speech on anshe b'li'al, on worthless people. When you know that there's a person who's just a wicked person and they love their wickedness and they're not winnable, and you can tell they're not winnable, at least not where they are right now. Don't share the holy things with them. Don't even waste your time. How much time I've wasted with people who are anti-Semites that I was trying to win over. Like, well, I regret that time lost. Don't waste the time with them. Sow his words in your environments, being true gardeners. Let your holy speech be for speaking into the world and into the environment around you, cultivating in such a way that you are fulfilling your role as Tselem Elohim, God imagers, gardeners. He meant us to be gardeners, to be cultivating the garden. And from this comes forth fruit of tikkun olam, restoring the world, helping the creation, helping the people and animals who come to us. Some people say even the plants. Sure, go for it. We read today that the trees are going to clap their hands, right? So, fine. Okay. Ein lanu kohen achei ein lanu kohen ein lanu lewi אעשה את הברכה הזאת אחרי סדר אחי צדק, כי יש לנו כהן בשמיים ממעל, ישוע שמו, המשיח הוא. יברכך אדוני וישמרך. יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך. יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך shalom. Shavua Tov. Be well, everyone. I look forward to seeing you in our classes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and of course on Shabbat, 6 days a week. Isaiah was delayed this week. Sorry, it wouldn't have been Shabbistic for me to record it and edit it, but it's all ready to go. Bezrat Hashem, I will do that on Sunday or on Monday. Early on, I'll get it out. Okay? One of those 2 days, either tomorrow or on Monday. But at least we got some Isaiah today. Bye bye.